It is a good day to be a casual player of League of Legends. Well, it happened again. We got a new update from the developers of League of Legends. And once again, as it has been throughout this entire year, everything is interesting! And it has especially been the case for all the people who don't care about ranked that much. And now yes, I know that you may be thinking that this was like a 12-minute long video, it wasn't that much information. But you're forgetting that we got 4 more dev blogs on top of all of that. So rest assured, there is a lot to talk about. Hence why the video is longer. And so without further ado, let's get on it. Once again, the video starts with none other than Pabro and Meddler, and they confirmed that they recorded this on July 28th. And they immediately start by teasing what's gonna be happening in Season 3. Here we should be seeing characters from both Noxus and Ionia Clash. Specifically, he mentioned LeBlanc, Yunara, Atakan, and Xin Zhao. But interestingly enough, they don't really drop the theme of this season, because so far it has always been themed after a region, with first being Noxus and then Ionia. And as of right now, technically we still have no idea what comes next. I guess we are staying in Ionia and Noxus and Ionia are just gonna clash. So if LeBlanc gets a resolution here, that would be a hilarious setup coming all the way from Arcane. Anyway, after this they are talking about the fact that Worlds is gonna be celebrating its 15th birthday in China. And then tied to all of this, they also confirmed that we're gonna be going back to normal Summoner's Rift. On one side, this is a little bit sad because I was expecting the streak, but on the other side, this absolutely makes sense. Worlds are coming, and most people, when watching Worlds, are used to the normal Summoner's Rift. Can you imagine if Worlds were being played on the Noxian Summoner's Rift? It wouldn't really match up, and so this makes sense. With that said, they confirmed that they heard a lot of cool feedback from the players who really enjoyed these new maps. And so while we won't be getting one for Season 3, they are already planning more for the future. Speaking of which, after that we go into gameplay updates. Specifically, one really big one is none other than Xin Zhao. Apparently, he is one of the most played junglers to date. And he recently celebrated his 15th birthday. Kinda like Worlds? It's funny that all of this is clashing in the same year. Also, Jesus Christ, I was 15 when he came out. And yeah, here they talk about the fact that Xin Zhao's model as well as animations are not great. Just look at this beautiful seam in the middle of his face, because that's how models used to be textured back in the day. You just vertically split them. And you don't care about seams. After which Meddler also confirmed that the team is working on more ASUs. They are aware that there are champions who constantly need better and better updates, especially the old ones. Especially Zillion. But they are trying to make sure that every time they release one of these ASUs, it is tied to the theme that is currently going on. And so, Xin Zhao's time finally came. And we have to talk about this one a lot. But before we do, there is one more piece of really relevant information that we have to mention. So, Xin Zhao's kit is entirely untouched because it simply works. All of his skins, of course, also getting updated, and they will also be get unvaulted for 2 weeks. So everything will be available for purchase. With Commando and Imperial being the 2 skins that are getting updated, which means they will be slightly more expensive. Now I know, when I say this you are likely expecting something like 20 bucks. But this is Old League we are talking about, so the skins are being bumped up from 520 to 750 RP. I miss Old League. But the prices will stay low until the skins go live. Which brings up one last thing. Xin Zhao is also getting an epic skin that will come out during Act 1 of Season 3. Which means the skin is likely related to the lore. Which means, let's finally talk about this one. Look, do you remember what happened to Gangplank when he got updated? So yes, in case you haven't seen it, not too long ago we've actually talked about Xin's lore. And it turns out there is a really good chance he could die. And that's because all the news stories are slowly creeping towards letting Xin Zhao pick up the Dark Englaive. Long story short, after the Noxian season started, which is where LeBlanc revealed that she knows about the Darkin, she lost her host of the Darkin because Katarina killed him in the cinematic, after which in LeBlanc's short story we learned that she manipulated Xin into going into Ionia, so that he could potentially be her new host for the Darkin. And it all ended with the most recent stories where Xin Zhao fought a lot of demons and he broke his weapon, which made everyone realize we have Xin Zhao in Ionia with a broken weapon, with the Darkin glaive just being behind a corner waiting to be picked up. You see, all of this just lines up towards him getting the Darkin weapon and potentially dying. So then, what is this? First of all, I have to say the visuals are awesome. It fits the modern style of Demacia so well. We even got some more detailed shots of this model in the dev blog. On top of the cool petricite steel armor, which is iconic for Demacia, I also love the golden shoulder pad referencing the Crown Guard dynasty. Because remember, Xin Zhao is the seneschal, he is the royal guard of the Demacian kings. But of course here, he also still has his weapon. Which means that this is a snapshot of Xin's lore before the Ionian season. Which leads us to one more thing. I could totally be wrong here, but I don't believe it was ever directly confirmed that the next champion would be the Darkin. Of course there are leaks and rumors, but that made me think. What if the new epic skin for Xin Zhao is gonna be the Darkin Glaive? What if all of these stories are gonna end with a glorious skin? But then, thankfully I guess, Riot made a mistake and they accidentally revealed the epic skin later in the video. So ignore the background for now, but you can see that Xin Zhao joined the Kinku. Which means a lot of things. First of all, it is now extremely likely that Xin Zhao is suddenly safe. But if you look at his new design, you may see that he is safe but not without struggle. Looking at his base version as well as this, you can see that visually Xin Zhao has two halves. On the base model, one half is separated with the golden shoulder pad, and on the new skin you can see that the same half has the spirity hand. And I thought this could be because going into the future, that one half is almost asking to be a Darkin weapon corrupting one of his halves. But story-wise, it could be that Xin Zhao actually picks up the weapon, he starts getting corrupted by a Darkin, and then, with the help of Yunara, the Darkin gets cleansed. Remember, Yunara is an expert at defeating the Darkin. But potentially, if the Darkin glaive turns out to be the patron, it is possible he never corrupts Xin Zhao and he just lends him his aid. Kinda like what happened with Yunara. And so, regardless of the outcome of the story, the new Xin Zhao looks awesome. This ASU is of course already teasing future lore, and now it is also likely that Xin Zhao survives his encounter with the Darkin. Which is kinda unfortunate, but I'm weird, I like tragic stories. And so back to the dev talk. Next we get some confirmations about future skins, specifically a lot of prestige skins. So Silas and Mel are gonna be getting prestige skins in the Mythic store, with Jarvan IV and Zoe getting prestige skins in the Battle Pass. Why are all of these still called prestige skins? I have no idea, since they are kinda normal skins, but themed with the seasons. Also notice that they didn't call out any of the normal skins that would be coming out for Season 3. So it seems like Riot is still trying to keep the theme of that season a secret. Otherwise, they would tease something. Anyway, next, while previously they confirmed that Viego would be getting the next Exalted skin, you know, gacha, well now they confirmed that that skin wasn't good enough yet. And so, instead of releasing an unpolished skin, Riot is moving it to the next tier so it can properly shine. Hey, credit where credit is due, good move by Riot, even if it is a gacha skin. But then, once again, Pabro gets a little bit too close to our personal bubbles. Because he's about to talk about the Victor Nation. That's right, last time it was confirmed that we were getting the Machine Herald as a skin. And so now he confirms that it will come out in the patch 25.19. This skin will be free for anyone who got Mastery 5 or higher on Victor. This will be by August the 4th, so it is too late now. And for everyone else, it will be available in the shop. I have to be honest, even though most people don't really care at this point, there will be people complaining. How dare they sell us a traditional skin for a champion even though previously it was free? After which it was sold, just like what's happening now. Wait, what? After which there is an update to the Battle Pass. Riot looked at the numbers and it seems like not everyone is finishing their Battle Passes in a normal time. And so they will be lowering it from 50 levels to 48 levels. The time between the levels should still be the same, so it will just be faster. And yes, don't worry, they are not removing any rewards. The entire Battle Pass is just getting slightly compacted. On top of which, in the Mythic store, there will now be a new kind of reward. Icons and emotes from TFT's Battle Passes. And that could be because TFT itself doesn't really have a store to support those kind of rewards. So goodbye, my TFT beta icon. Will that one be available too? But now, on to something we've been waiting for years. Yes, Doombots are back. If you are not aware, which means you are most likely like 18 years old now, Doombots might have been just about the best game mode ever released. This is all related to last year, where Riot talked about how they are improving League's AI. AI meaning fighting NPCs. I hate this age. And so when that update dropped, people asked, could we get Doombots with this new AI? And without saying a word, Riot delivered. In case you don't know what this is, Doombots is a special game mode where you fight against AI that is designed to be unfair. For example, Morgana's Q now chains to other targets around it. Lux's ult would always fire in all directions. Veigar would summon a storm of meteors. And now it seems like in the new version, we are getting even more of these encounters. In this game mode, the goal is not to destroy the enemy nexus, because that is almost impossible. Instead, it is to survive. On top of this, there is also gonna be a new progression system with difficulties and curses. Yes, you can curse yourself to make this game mode even more fun. And on top of that, Riot is introducing something called the Trials of Doom, where every patch, Riot gives us a new challenge to tackle in Doombots. After this, they confirmed that this opens up a whole new space of possibilities. But when it comes to returning game modes, they don't have any immediate plans, but they are open for exploration. And yes, just to show you some more of the fun of the Doombots game mode, there is also the blog post. And here they show us some new mechanics. For example, this is what Wukong looks like. I told you it's gonna be fun. Also, here's Doombot Nami, who has a Q that splits. Her E is now AoE for all allies. And yes, she does have 2 ultimates, with the final boss of this game mode being Veigar. Now last year it was Teemo, so maybe these 2 bosses will alternate. But regardless, the team learned a lot from the boss fights in Swarm. And so after 15 minutes, Veigar just comes into your base. And there you will have to fight him, as well as all the other Doombots to protect your nexus. Lastly, in the middle of the game, as you're being cursed and attacked by really dangerous enemies, Veigar will also give you a challenge. For example, here you are supposed to kill Ziggs before he destroys your lane. And if you accomplish that, you will get a buff. Which is cool, because this is a brand new mechanic that still keeps this game mode fresh. But that is it for Doombots, so now we are moving on to the next topic, which is a big one, and that is WASD. Right now, this new control scheme might be the biggest debate that's happening. And it absolutely makes sense why Riot is interested in it. When it comes to the popular viral games that are being played by the current generation as well as the new generation, League is the only one that still uses click to move. Which is quite an old control scheme unless you're playing an ARPG, and even those have controllers. And that is because today's kids are used to touchscreens and controllers. And so WASD is fixing that. But here, the conversation has never been about accessibility. Everyone agrees that's just good. No, the conversations are mostly about balance. Because WASD will be pretty good at controlling AD carries specifically. Because it heavily simplifies kiting. And I mean, look! AD carries need something, alright, that entire role is crumbling. But yes, Riot is aware that this might affect the balance of AD carries, and so they are ready for adjustments. So far, apparently, they got a lot of feedback from their tests during MSI, and now they are getting ready for more feedback because it will be deployed on PBE. and it will be staying there for an extended period. Of course, they don't wanna immediately drop it onto ranked games, and so after PvE, it will go into normal games, and then it will go into ranked. And that is simply because this new control scheme allows for some pretty nasty bugs, and they wanna catch all of them. One interesting bug is that apparently, as Nunu was running around with his snowball, he could just take turns however he wanted. But of course, with the new control scheme, they also need to tackle key binding, because WASD is taking the spot of at least one of your abilities, and so they need the keybinds to be versatile, which is why they are opening up everything for key binding, including your mouse clicks. Connected to this, they are also investing in a dynamic camera. This makes sense if you're gonna be locked onto your champion. And so, the new dynamic camera will allow you to move the camera at least a little bit with your mouse. I am pretty sure this is exactly what Supervive is doing. But remember, everything is still in an experimental phase. So Riot wants you to go onto PvE and find the weirdest bugs. And yes, Vandral is gonna have a good day. Now, there is also a dev blog about WASD, and there they pretty much say what was said in the video, but they also give us examples of some of the feedback they got. For example, surprisingly, playing Kalista was more difficult with WASD, and that is because you are limited into the 8 directions. Then, when it comes to Rel, it was harder to find good engagements, because again, the pathing is kinda limited. But on the other hand, someone like Kayle felt pretty natural, and it was all good. Which is pretty much it for WASD, but while we are on the track for accessibility, Riot is also finally adding jungler timers to the game for everyone, meaning you no longer need stupid extensions. They are also making it easier to track summoner spell timings, and there will be improvements for death screen recap. After which, holy shit, Drew Levin, he really is everywhere. And so of course he starts his part with hammering on more feedback. So here we got some big news for cheating and griefing. And smurfing. That's right, all those talks about smurfing were not for nothing. So here comes the big change. Riot is tackling the 2 most used cases of people abusing the systems, which would be boosting and hitchhiking. Boosting is when someone logs onto your account and plays it to give you a higher rank, and hitchhiking is when someone buys an account and they play with you to boost you just indirectly. In both cases, Riot will start banning both parties, both the booster and the boostee. And they can do this because Vanguard, despite what people may think about it, is incredibly effective at what it is supposed to do. Not steal your data, but detect these edge cases. And I have to say, I'm just surprised Riot wasn't banning these cases before. I guess it could be because false positives, but now, with Vanguard, there will be almost none. But there will still be some, so Riot is still asking you to appeal in those cases. Also, if you report someone who is getting boosted and they actually get banned, you will get a nice message. And they also confirmed that smurfing, in general, is still fine. If you leveled up your own account to learn a second role or to climb in a different style, that's fine. Riot will not be going after you. In fact, the entire True Skill 2 system has been built for that purpose. That entire system was designed to make sure it can detect if you are way better than where you currently are. So even if you smurf, it should take like 3 games and the system will put you where you belong. So it is not as harmful to the game as people think. Though of course, there is still the slight leeway where the game needs to decide whether you are actually smurfing. Just keep in mind that as of right now, True Skill 2 is still being deployed in NA and Korea in only some queues, so it is still not fully operational. But that is it from Capybara as well. So now we have just a few more extra pieces of information. The World's Anthem will drop on October the 10th. Which is 16 days before my birthday! Right, missed on that opportunity. With October 14 kicking off the Games of Worlds, with the finals happening on November the 9th. And that is it. That's all the new info we got. And I told you, it's gonna be longer than 12 minutes. Though a lot of that time was probably eaten by Xin Zhao. Speaking of which, oh man, overall, it is great to be a casual player. The lore is still resolving in interesting ways. Doombots are making a glorious return. There are also updates for boosting for all the ranked players. And WASD might finally be Riot's way of getting new players into the game. That entire system has a massive potential, but it does have one flaw. Nobody ever calls it WASD, Meddler. It has always been WASD. I got baited, didn't I?